Hello, Void. Still plugging away at my backlog of reviews I've been meaning to do, so here we go. Fear Street Part 2, 1978. Follow up to one of the reviews I did back in October when I took on Fear Street Part 1, which that feels like a million years ago right now, so I can't quite remember what rating I gave Fear Street, especially since I think that was under my old rating system, but I recall I rated it pretty high, I think. Fear Street Part 2, I'd also heard, is a lot of people like this one better than the first one, but I actually did enjoy the first one better than this one. This was a fine film, but there's too many things that were just kind of nagging at me throughout it that just didn't pan out well for me, and that kind of ended up being kind of a problem for me. So while the film on its own is fine, I wanted it to be better. Especially since I did like the characters enough from the first one. I did want to see where things are going. But, alas, this one has too many problems for me to give it the same praise that I did for the first one. Okay, so, Fear Street, 1978. This one picks up pretty much right where the last one left off. Spoilers for the first one, I suppose, but since it leads directly in, I can't really talk about this one without it. So at the end of the first one, they thought they had stopped the possession of the main character's girlfriend by the witch, but alas, it looks like the curse had not, in fact, been broken, so they tried to find one of the people who was originally, or find someone who survived the incident back in 1978 and see what she did to escape the witch. So, we find her living as pretty much a recluse with a very carefully regimented day to essentially protect herself. But they break into her place, despite her continually asserting there's nothing she can do. But finally, she sits them down to tell them a story about what happened. So most of the movie is a flashback to the events of 1978, where there was a campground massacre, where one of her friends went crazy at camp or one of the counselors went crazy at camp and started killing everybody. Counselor, student? No, I think it was a student or a camper. Anyway, so flashes back that she's one of a pair of sisters who have become estranged, and then one of the sisters, Ziggy, is the outcast pariah, while the other one, Cindy, is the definitive good girl and doing everything she can to fit in. Pretty much, Ziggy's like the camp pariah. Everyone's picking on her, mostly because she's from Shadyside. Now, the camp is in Shadyside, but it's kind of a camp for both cities, essentially. And their color war is about to happen, which is essentially a one city versus the other, capture the flag game. But just before that, the nurse, whose daughter went crazy previously, the ghost of which we saw in the first one, and she begins acting very strange and tries to kill one of the students, insisting that she's seen his name on the wall. Well, after the nurse gets killed and carted off, the camp proceeds as normal, I guess. Hazing goes back and forth, and then Cindy, the good sister, I guess, is determined to find a rational explanation for what happened rather than she was cursed by the witch, because that's ridiculous, and begins snooping around and try to prove she was on drugs or something. When they find a book indicating that she was involved with trying to track down what happened to Sarah Fear and try to break the curse because of what happened to her daughter, well, they begin following her notes and find the lair of the witch. So the film kind of goes into two directions there, following Cindy as she gets trapped within the witch's lair after her boyfriend freaks out and starts killing everyone, like the nurse predicted. Well, has Sadie out there trying to then is now out there with the killer and is trying to help the guy who would go on to become the sheriff in the next movie survive the night. Which is a fine slasher during these periods. Don't get me wrong. Those parts are fine, but it does still maintain the same horror after school special vibe mixed in with over the top kills. However, the kills in this one I thought were much more downplayed than the last film. It could be because a lot of the campers were kids and they didn't want to focus in on that, but they cut away from the kills much more frequently than in the first one, and it was noticeable. I think you only see one guy take an axe to the face, and after that, it's usually you see the killer walk into an area with an axe, and then just a bunch of blood left over afterwards. So it feels a bit tamer. Anyway, I'm gonna have to get into spoilers to cover my other main beefs with this film, so I'll just give my rating here. I'm giving this 5 MacGuffins. It's okay. If you look too hard at it, it falls apart under scrutiny, but it's fine for a middle of the road slasher. Okay, spoiler territory. So, first off, this one goes into at the end of this one, they're still trying to end the curse. They find out to do that they have to reunite the hand of the witch with the witch's body, and down in the underground area witch's lair, they find the hand. And supposedly she was buried under the old hanging tree. Well, they get there, and there's no witch body there, just a little memorial rock saying the witch will live forever, or the curse will live forever, something like that. Seraphir will live forever. I don't remember. But there's no body, which means they can't turn off the curse. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. That's good story. That's a good cliffhanger point to begin leaving things off of. That's fine. The problem with this that I have is then essentially the first movie we figured out where the witch's body was. So when we flash back to modern day, come back to modern day, and the kids are like, "We know where the body is. Is the hand still at the tree?" Because that's apparently where they left the hand of the witch. Okay, I'm still on board. But the tree is now in the middle of the mall. Now, yeah, this is 20 years? Fear Street Part 1 was 1994, so this is 78, so less than 20 years. Okay, now most summer camps, to my knowledge, are way out in the woods. Pretty far off. So, how did the geography of this town make sense? Because Shadyside existed then, because there was still the color war between Shadyside and Sunnydale. And yes, okay, the camp can be near Shadyside, I'll grant it that, but now if that's where the mall is, isn't that more centralized? And how did you turn a summer camp into a mall in just 20-some years? I get they're trying to tie the locations together of that's where this happened. And I'm okay with the hand still being there. But why the mall? Why not just have them go on a road trip out to the woods and find the tree? Why did they have to set it in the middle of a building that was in the first one? Because that just makes the camp seem a lot closer, which defeats the point of a camp. It bugged me. It took me completely out of this. It was baffling. Another decision that was odd is, okay, and I'm just going to have to take the movie at his word here, that they were trying to hide which sister the storyteller was. Because, I guess they were trying to play it that, make it, you think that she was Cindy when she was actually Ziggy? But as soon as the story started, the first character you focus on is Ziggy, so I just assumed it was her. When they suddenly at the end, when the characters are, wait, you're Ziggy, you're not Cindy. I was not knowing that was supposed to be a twist. I just figured that was a given. I guess what they tried to set up in the first one was C. Berman was the person who survived, And so when you get flashback, you hear Cindy Berman, you're supposed to assume that that's rather than Ziggy Berman. But I guess Ziggy's regular name was, I think they said it, and Christine or Charlotte. It was something else that started with a C. I can't quite recall it. I watched this movie about a week ago. But I guess they were trying to make it be a twist which sister survived, and I don't know why. They, that reveal had no weight or impact other than oh, it doesn't really matter which sister lived. I mean, I guess what they were trying to do is make you think one sister was going to die when it was going to be the other one, because they tell you right off the bat that my sister died then. So first I was just waiting for Cindy to die because I thought that was the sister that because I correctly thought that okay, this is Ziggy telling the story, so okay. Could be that I just missed the name right off the bat, because it had been several months since I watched the first one. So, which caused me to just, as it's filmed, you just assume it's Ziggy. So, that it was a pointless twist that went nowhere and didn't seem to have a point at all. So, between the pared back kills, pointless twist, and the baffling choices of location for having a summer camp smack dab in the middle of town that then shut down, I don't get that at all. I can only give Fear Street Part 2 a 5. Soundtrack is awesome, just like the first one where they chose great music from the time. And I will say the over-the-top bullying, it seems very after-school special, but that does keep in pace with the first one, so I was expecting it. But it's just okay. It's the best I can really say about this one. I wanted to like it more because I did like the first one. And seeing a summer camp slasher again, it's been a long time since I've seen a good one of those. That So I don't know. I was really hoping for more out of this. Well, the next one, 1666. I don't know when I'll watch. I'd like to see it, but this one kind of took the wind out of the sails for me on any urgency to see it, so I'll get to it when I get to it. Catch you later, guys.